Happy Tuesday and happy whatever International Day. Hot Dog Day, actually? Are you sure? Hap Fouth and his superb Bellamente team. We're going to talk about that. Bravo Zulu to them for their win in the European Maxis.
Oh, good.
Controversy in the New Zealand Olympic selection. An article in the Radio New Zealand website. Coaching Corner, John Emmett's going to talk about Olympic selection. We got news from AC37. That's the main topic today. Is the sixth and final AC75 has been exposed. France's Orient Express. A little bit of talk from Jimmy Spithill as we get this show number 713 across the starting line. Welcome. We are live once again from Studio B here at the Beach Street Yacht Club in beautiful San Francisco. It's a nice late spring day, not a cloud in the sky as I look out of the studio here. Julie, I trust you are well.
I am, interestingly enough.
You had a good Memorial Day weekend?
Yes. Entertained royally.
You were entertained, or you entertained royalty?
No.
I'm your host, Tom Eamon. As I cut in on top of Julia, we got people checking in from around the world, including Alistair Murray, who's back in Chile Mettung. He's been up traveling on his bike. We got an AAAA today, Julia.
Yes, I look forward to it.
It will be good. As we get 7:13 for the Tuesday, the 28th of May, well and truly on the road. We had our show last Friday. It seems like, man, a week or a month ago. That long weekend.
Yeah.
It's still Tuesday. Featuring, as we did last Friday, Leonard Takahashi from New Zealand, who is apparently helming. We say apparently, he was very modest and saying, well, so far so good, but he is, by all accounts, helming the powerful ETNZ Youth America's Cup team. But they had a bit of an incident over the weekend, and here it is.
Tick, tick, boom.
Ooh.
Bringing the noise. Go, baby, we bringing our toys. Separate me from the boys. Chopper be singing, she'll be on the voice. Bang, bang, we gon' ride out.
Practicing in their 40.
Want it like this, ain't no time.
You want to see that again? Why not?
Yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. That poor sail just disappeared.
Yeah, the jib tore on the leech, the trailing edge.
She'll be on the voice. Bang, bang, we gon' ride out. Gang, gang, we don't die out. Want it like this, ain't no time.
That's from the ETNZ Facebook page. The youth team this is what they said. The youth team pushing the limits of the AC40. All good, no serious damage other than a torn jib rearing to get back out there. So that was apparently, I don't know for sure Leonard was on the boat. I texted him, and I texted his dad, Rob Fry, but I'm not sure I hadn't heard back, at least not that I noticed, before airtime. And we got a lot of comments. My goodness, the comments are rolling in. Tier de Jong down in SoCal, Pedro Foiling Sailor, chicken a little, I just found out that the earth is flat. I'm in shock. Christopher Gillingham saying to our French Fozy, Bravo Zulu, congrats to the team, Orient Express. Ted Ryman checking in from Cape Town. The Gillinghams, of course, in Leamington in England. Clayton Embley, greetings from the boat shop. We've got a little feature of Clayton and his daughter Savannah in due course. John Hanfield, Newport, Rhode Island, having a horrible day and hoping the show keeps me going. Well, we hope we get you going, John, and keep you going. Jonathan Frank in Galveston. Oh, Galveston, our 777 Renaissance man, United Airlines pilot, superb sailor, bass player, crooner, singer. He is something
Multi-talented.
He is indeed, Julia. Andrew Pindar checking in. The sun's out again in beautiful Scarborough up there on England's east coast. Rick Bannerow, post-Memorial Day. wishing us all a happy, what's a Fodsy? To the Fozy. I think that's a
Fozy,
typo,
yeah.
right? And the Dutch World Cup, John Emmett is saying the Dutch World Cup has been canceled. Why is that, John? Fog Machine checking in from from San Francisco in the Bay Area. Greetings. Good evening to all you wonderful people. Gordon Smith in Denmark. Alistair Murray, we mentioned a minute ago. Ed Worley down in SoCal. The 12s will live and sail forever. He likes our intro, as do I think a lot of people, Julia.
I do too. I still love to look at it.
Joe Holtzman, greetings from beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Estes Park, Colorado, where it's sunny, sunny, sunny. Fritz Mueller down in Miami, where it's probably by now hot and humid. Good evening from Shetland, Graham Sweeney says, with the power outage. Uh-oh. Well, that happens up there in Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
Good thing they strengthened those bows. Yeah, that was straight down the mine shaft.
Oh.
As Fog Machine is saying. That was a face plant like America. Yeah, it was very similar, Fritz Mueller, to American Magic's face plant in Auckland. Face plant and then capsize.
Yeah.
And TNZ is saying this is a good thing with rap music, Ed Worley is saying. I don't know about that, Ed. Look at all the comments. I like the way the two-skin Maine opened up to maximize the nosedive, Steve Gruber said. Double skin Maine is crazy. Yeah, John Hanfield, everybody noticing that. There's Julie Aarons saying hi to all the fuzzy from Cleveland, where the weather is sunny but cool.
We understand that.
And Mikkel Thomason, who was ready to come on today, Julia, but I said, we're kind of over that whole world sailing thing and that president, that Danish president, what was his name? We don't have to remember his name. Oh, gosh. Thank God he's gone. Looking forward to the show, Mikkel, and Mikkel's going to come on nonetheless and update us from Scandinavia in due course.
I like him.
Oh, not enough entries for the Dutch World Cup. That's a sailing event, he's saying. Okay, Thanks, John Emmett, for that. And yes, they were okay on that boat, and they did end up with a capsize, but no one was injured, which is, of course, the good news. We hope all of you who were celebrating it over our long weekend, really the start to our summer with the Memorial Day yesterday, Monday. In the U.S., it was Memorial Day weekend.
This is the start of the peak hot dog consumption season. That's right. From Memorial Day to Labor Day, Americans will consume a whopping 7 billion hot dogs. That equates to
How can that be?
hot dogs per second, according to the National Hot Dog and Sausage Council. Last year, Americans spent $8 billion on hot dogs. New York is the #2 hot dog consuming city in the country. L.A., #1.
Wow.
But I want you to know that here at the Beach Street Yacht Club yesterday,
Yes.
we did have hot dogs, but
We
only as an afterthought. That was not the main course.
No.
Because you would have thought, we had Julia down, and
Yes.
you would have thought us croutonic if we'd served only hot dogs.
Well, if we were all in the mood for it, it would have been okay.
Well, we had something more special
We
than
did.
hot dogs.
We did.
There's Julia. She'd come down in the elevator, and we were watching the Giants defeat the Philadelphia Phillies on TV at the same time that we had some on our fancy Beach Street Yacht Club plates. You see that? The Burgee at the top of those plates.
Right.
Those are really St. Francis Yacht Club plates. I was in my red, white, and blue to celebrate Memorial Day and plating the meal. Our good friend Alfredo Partible, who's the Beach Street Yacht Club bartender, among other things, was here serving for us as well and joining us in the dinner, the brunch yesterday afternoon, which was
Baby back ribs, and they were wonderful.
baby back ribs a la TFE.
Right.
My baby back ribs, this is now Cuisine Illustrated.
Yes.
Culinary
Yes.
Illustrated. My baby back ribs, I commend them to you. You buy them off Amazon or at the supermarket. You rub High Mountain Rib Rub onto them much earlier, 3-4 hours earlier, 5 hours earlier. Let them marinate, if that's the right word. And then, what's the word the books all use, Julia? When you pour olive oil, although you don't pour a whole lot of it, there's another word for just a drizzle.
Drizzle. Yeah.
Drizzle olive oil. Flip them. Do the same on the other side. To our right.
Right.
And then cook them slowly, 3 hours at 275 degrees. And this is my second in a row. I've done it this way, and they've turned out pretty well.
Oh, they're
now, unless you think I'm some kind of a cook, Julia will attest, I am not. I can cook scrambled eggs and ribs, and that's it.
Well, it's a start.
The cooking with Tom Show, Grimsby. That's Blake Middleton checks in from the land of 10,000 lakes up in Minnesota. Yes, Fritz Mueller, yes, wrapped in foil.
Covered in foil.
Covered in foil, but only for the last half hour. Otherwise, you don't get that nice caramelized topping. So once after cooking them for 2.5 hours or so, you check them and maybe have a quick taste to see if they're look inside to see if they're cooked. Then cover them with tin foil for the last half hour to keep the moisture from escaping out the top.
And then letting them rest.
Can I make ice? That's a cooking skill. No, I can't. The refrigerator makes ice. Here, Steve Gruber. So much for that. I will say that we did have a fancy dessert, though.
Yes.
We sampled some more of what has turned out to be the most popular liqueur, I guess you would call it, bourbon cream. Here, the most popular drink at Beach Street, cold coffee. Cold coffee, iced coffee with some of Clayton Embly's bourbon cream. And let me tell you, it's better than Bailey's. It's delicious, right, Julia?
It is.
And there is our Fozy Clayton Allen Embly. Clayton with his daughter Savannah checking in. And Clayton says that picture was taken at the Red Parrot. Some of you will know it's at the corner of Lower Thames and Bellevue. No, not Bellevue, America's Cup Avenue in Newport, downtown Newport, Rhode Island. And that's his daughter, Savannah. She's a Grand Prix equestrian. She's a very accomplished equestrian, as well as recreational sailor. She loves the 12s. Intrepid being her favorite. Savannah Embly, if you're watching, welcome. We're now officially made you also, along with your dad, a Fozy.
A Fozy.
Thanks for that.
Yes.
Jonathan Frank, man, they've had a rough period down there in Houston, some bad weather. They're under a tornado warning right now, going radio silent. Okay, well, I hope you're okay. Alan Long is talking about the membrane on the back of the, you got to strip the membrane off the ribs. The Fozy need to come up with a bourbon-based sailing drink. Okay, Clayton will lead us on, and we'll do that. Peter Stevenson, a.k.a. Pedro Foiling Sailor, wants to know we marinate the hot dogs. We just serve them with raw with white wine sauce. Julia? What we do is slice them down the middle when they're on the grill outside here, right outside the Studio B here. We have a little back deck. We slice the hot dogs on the grill down the middle and then stuff them with...
Cheese.
What kind of cheese?
I don't know.
Sharp
Cheddar.
Cheese. Yes, we do, but we don't really marinate them. Hot dogs are not necessarily good for you. All beef, no, they're okay. Vanilla ice cream dressed with Bailey's and a drizzle. Yeah, that's today's word, a drizzle.
Yeah.
Of olive oil? No, a drizzle of licorice syrup.
Licorice syrup.
Can't we have more equestrians on the show? Perhaps we could. Well, we have Savannah now. Maybe Savannah can do an equestrian show for you. You have no respect for your taste buds. A drizzle.
A drizzle.
The word Julia.
Yes.
Julia.
Yes.
Our word of the day.
I think it's a nice word.
So what are we celebrating today? A drizzle of hot dogs or a drizzle of? There's your only clue. Today, believe it or not, is International
Burger Day.
Burger Day.
Is
There
it
is
really?
such a thing. I don't know who the hell celebrates it. That's a pretty good looking burger, though. That looks like about 1,000 calories or more. 2 burgers, 2 cheeses, big sesame seed roll. It's International Burger Day, which is celebrated May 28th annually. Burgers are one of the most popular foods in the world, you think? And for good reason. They're fast, inexpensive, and tasty. Not so expensive anymore. Formerly considered inferior to prime slices, ground beef was considered a cheap byproduct, but is now popularly used for hamburgers.
Especially if you use good steak meat. Ooh.
Say that again?
Especially if you use good steak meat for
Ground
the hamburgers.
round.
Yeah.
Ground round steak meat. Yeah, well, this is that day, and of course you put all sorts of toppings and condiments and variations, whether pan-fried, flame-broiled, or barbecued. One thing is certain burgers are going to be served in a bun on and International Hamburger Day is a celebration of that.
Sure.
It goes on to about the history now. Who invented hamburgers? As usual, it's one of these things that was subsumed by the Americans. Aside from the fact that it's named after the German city of
Hamburg.
Hamburg, where we lived. My wife and daughter and I lived there for nearly 10 years. No one knows and love Hamburg. What a fabulous place. The esteemed Norddeutsche Regatta Verein, of which we were members. We sailed stars, we sailed 5.5s, dragons. Fantastic. Yacht club there on the Außen Alster. The link with Hamburg appears to have stemmed from a recipe for a meal known as the Hamburg sausage, that was published in 1758, 100 years before America's Cup Zero. The Hamburg America line, Julia,
Yes.
we dedicate this to you and your late husband, according to some historians, was a cruise line that provided identical sandwiches to its passengers in the mid-1800s, right around America's Cup Zero, and gave the sandwich its name. According to some, the hamburger was created in New Haven in Connecticut in 1900, right there by Rick Bannerow, by a Danish immigrant, Louis Lassen, who used European principles. Now, I don't know, what is a European principle, Julia? Who knows? But that is today International Burger Day, for what that is worth or not worth. Steve Gruber says, no burger should be gray. The burger in that photo looks gross.
Gross.
But I'm a burger snob. It does look a little gray,
It does.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
He's right. Replying to Cam, they call it horse meat. Okay, horse, not a question. I think they're back on that, not horse meat. It is Tuesday, Baton Rouge in Charleston. It's a little disconcerting after you've had Monday off. It's the holiday here. Clayton Embley saying 93% ground beef with Montreal grill seasoning. Okay, everybody's got their favorite, including Ted Ryan. He makes a mean cheeseburger. Blake Middleton up in Minnesota says we have the famous Juicy Lucy burger. Christopher Gillingham knew it was international and also National Burger Day. Alan Long wraps the hot dog in bacon. Boy, my mother used to do that, Julia. Dogs in a blanket, they were called, and you would grill them in the oven. You know, you'd put them under the what do you call that?
Broiler.
The broiler. Thank you very much. And you do the bacon and you slice them down the middle, tinfoil on whatever the thing was you were frying them on or grilling them on, and sharp. Cheddar cheese. No, my mother used American cheese. That awful stuff. American cheese.
But it melts very well.
It's awful. It does. It has a low. So do a lot of other cheeses.
Not quite as melty.
Melty. Okay. Julia, In-N-Out burgers are best. Ed Worley says, of course, he would say that. He's from California.
And I agree with him.
I don't know. Those New York burgers, okay, enough on burgers. One last comment from Stingray up in Seattle. Cheeseburger in paradise, heaven on earth with an onion slice. Not too particular, not too precise. I'm just a cheeseburger in paradise. Heard about the old, okay, you know what song that is?
Yes.
What?
Cheeseburger in paradise.
And by whom? By whom?
Oh, gosh. I'm even subscribed
He just
to
passed away.
Yeah, I just subscribed to his.
He just passed away. The way
know.
the Fozzie will get that. Who is that song by? Da 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 da. Jimmy Buffet. We've
Yes.
now got In-N-Out burgers in Colorado, Brighton and Loveland. Okay, enough on burgers. Graham Sweeney's got it. Buffett. Cheese drooped from a plane. Okay, it's International Burger Day, named after apparently Hamburg, Germany. How would you know? We're celebrating that today, as well as celebrating our Fozzie and contributors and patrons via patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. We sure appreciate all of you and all that you do for us by helping keep our studio progressing. And we've made a little more progress here over the last couple of 3 days. The long weekend, I did some work here in the studio.
Yes.
Julia knows because she's, what are you doing? Come up here and help me on my computer. Julia can't. I'm working in the studio. It's my excuse always.
Always.
And we are today also celebrating now the launch, the reveal of all the sixth and final AC-75. The French revealed a couple days ago over this long weekend as well. Not that it was a long weekend in Barcelona. The teams are out practicing. In fact, there is a new video just out, just before we went to air. It's a little longish. It's raw by our longtime friend, the esteemed photographer, videographer, French gentleman, Gilles Martin-Rager, who's been a team photog for us, any number of America's Cup teams. He is superb. His video on his YouTube channel is just out. If you want to see raw footage of 4 of the America's Cup teams sailing today in Barcelona, go to his Gilles Martin, Gilles Martin, Martin-Raget, R-A-G-E-T, his YouTube channel. And thanks, Stingray, for that tip. Bravo Zulu, first and foremost here before we get into the America's Cup and John Emmett's report. And the very nice livery colors, yes, of the French AC-75. And speaking of nice-looking boats, these Maxis, they had a big turnout at the IMA, the International Maxi Association, Maxi European Championship in Sorrento in Italia as part of their Tre Golfi week, race week. And there is the winner, which is Hap Fouth. There you can see him at the wheel, Hap Fouth, who is also the co-head of New York Yacht Club's American Magic Syndicate. And he's also a hell of a good sailor and a leading light at the New York Yacht Club. And bravo Zulu to him and his team, because in a great display of on-the-water dominance within an already elite level class, that is the Maxi class, Hap Fouth with his tactician, Terry Hutchinson, T. Hutch, and the all-star cast of the Maxi 74, Bellamente, the name of his yacht, several of them, have claimed the 3rd edition of the IMA Maxi European Championship, supported by Rolex as official timepiece. Bravo Zulu to them as well. Also to the host in the club in Sorrento, the Circolo del Remo della Vela Italia, CRVI, was the host, which comprised the Regatta dei Tre Golfi, offshore race followed by 4 days of windward lures and coastal racing, including yesterday's, meaning this was the final day was the 23rd, which was what, Thursday? Yesterday's popular lap of Capri was organized by Circolo del Remo, CRVI, and supported by Loro Piana. I mean, what a classy outfit. If you go and see all the photos, which I'm not going to include here, but it was a fabulous event by all accounts. And let's have a few looks here. Having taken the lead overall in the 20-boat fleet, Hap Fouth Bellamente stormed off the start into an early lead on the final day and never looked back, while the 3 Wallicentos, 100-foot Wallies, should have had the upper hand. The nimble 74-footer, the pure racer, kept her nose ahead of Wallicentos 5 and Galatea to win the final race in the IMA Maxi Europeans title. Former Maxi 72s owned the podium with Sir Peter Ogden's 77-footer Jet 2, a worthy second and 6 points behind Bellamente. And the defending champion, Peter Dubin's North Star, was third. So there they are on Bellamente, and the owner, Hap Fouth, said afterwards, "She has legs is all I can say. We got an unbelievably good start. There was a lot of congestion, but we found a hole and we're gone." That's his quote. Latest of the former Maxi 72s, Bellamente is now, I didn't know this, 5 years old, but has undergone constant evolution and now sports twin rudders, water ballast, and a powerboat-style interceptor on her transom. Quote, "We had speed against all the 100-footers," continued Fouth. "The venue is great and the event was terrific. I am so glad that we got a race off today, even if it required patience for everyone. Participants committed with a little light until the breeze finally filled in." And as usual, we have a video. Now, this is not from the Maxi Association, but this is from the host club. And I've shortened it down to 3 minutes, and I hope we don't get a copyright check for the music. I'm not sure this is Italian music, but it sounds famously like some famously good Italian group. But enjoy this very cool 3-minute video.
Niente cavolo che sai, tiene compagni e creature, porta lacrime e sudore a chi cerca a nascondere colore. Lievo viso la fatica, mo parte, non mi fa sentire paura.
I'm going to turn the music down because I really just don't know. It sounds like an Italian singer, popular singer group, and I don't want to get in any trouble with the Italian authorities, let alone Facebook or YouTube. But you can just see what a class act the Italians are, and it's not just this club; it's all of the Italian clubs. There's no mystery why sailing is so popular in Italy. Fog Machine is saying, I need a Campari soda to watch this. Yeah, that would help too.
Yeah.
What a beautiful old world country. I love Rome. I love Milano and the lakes, Como and Garda up north. Meg, of course, went to college in Suites in Switzerland, southern Switzerland, Ticino. So we fell in love with that Italian section of Switzerland as well. But just amazing, beautiful scenery. And Italy is hosting the Youth Worlds this year. John Emmett is saying. I talked to our super Fozy, Mr. Dr. Andrew McIrvin, by text this morning, or maybe it was last night. He's headed back to Italy for another Maxi event. The guy's got a terrible job.
I was going to say.
Julia?
Oh.
He's got a terrible job.
I feel so sorry for him. Oh.
Fabulous stuff.
Yes.
And those of you who are video nerds, those black bars at the top is because this video was shot in not 16:9, but in 16:10, and it's cinematographic. There's a little vertical shot, but they've put together what I just thought makes you want, as Alistair Murray says, he says in the video we're going to show from Alistair later on, he says it's his second or third favorite country to visit. Stingray is saying Capri and Sorrento are my favorite places in the world to visit. Yep. The late, great Carlo Rolandi took my wife, Leslie, and I out to Capri from Napoli, from Naples, one very memorable day. He was the mayor of Naples at the time. He was also the delegate. He was president of FIV. Gordon Smith saying, yes, gorgeous, isn't it?
Oh, it is.
A nice conclusion. Julia, what do you think of that video?
I love it. Yeah.
It is really nice. It is really nice, and we're lucky to have venues like that, countries like that, yacht clubs like that. And look at the happy faces.
Yes.
And the class and style. There's the Commodore of the club down in the lower left corner. We'll introduce him in a moment. The gentleman from Rolex handing the Rolex over to Hap Fouth there in the middle.
That's another good job to have to hand out for Rolexes.
Working for Rolex, that's a good point. That is a good point, Julia. Ed Worley saying, look, sailing with no Game Boy controllers, real sailing with real crews.
I know.
I'm not sure there is much that compares to Sardinia. Yeah, Sardinia is pretty nice too, and I have long since fallen in love, not only with Italy, but particularly with Sardinia as well. But this is a nice club, nice event. And having won, according to the press release, won the Maxi Rolex Cup, the Maxi Yacht Rolex Cup last September, the IMA, the International Maxi Association, Maxi Europeans this week, and this event. The Fouth is hoping to make it a triple if his American Magic successfully challenges for the America's Cup in Barcelona this October. He's co-head of that, as I think I mentioned, along with Doug DeVos, and that's why T. Hutch and some of those other American Magic sailors will have been sailing with Hap and Co. on Bellamente. At the prize giving, Fouth was also awarded the prize for finishing top IMA member. Nice prose by James Boyd of the IMA. He does their PR and does a terrific job. Speaking of
there we are.
our Super Fozy, there we are. There is the Commodore on the left, Roberto Matola di Amato, the president. They don't call him the Commodore in Italy. They're normally the Presidente of the Yacht Club of the CRVI. And there, of course, is Mr. Dr. Andrew in the middle as Secretary General of the IMA, and then Hap Fouth, the owner skipper of Bella Mente.
That's a great picture.
Isn't it? Mm-hmm. And there are the results, just for the record. You can't probably see that slide very well, and that's why we zoom it in. Hap Fouth and Co. on Bella Mente first. In the smaller Maxis, it must have been good conditions for them. Probably plenty of breeze in Jet 2 and North Star. And then the Wallicento, the Czech Wallicento was fourth. And Jolt, another mini Maxi, if that's what you call them, Peter Harrison's. Jolt was fifth. Okay, Bravo Zulu for that. We like to do Bravo Zulus on this show. This is a little more disconcerting. A report from Radio New Zealand on their website, and John Emmett's going to speak to this in just a minute, so I thought I'd put it in ahead of his report. But allegations of bias, inconsistency in Olympics yachting selection by some of the sailors, and this picked up by RNZ and a few other outlets media outlets in New Zealand. Joe Ali and Molly Meach. This is a shot from 2023. They've been chosen, but apparently there are some who think they should not have been chosen to go to the Olympics. Well, guess what? We're going to fill you in here. Yachting New Zealand is accused of mishandling its Olympic selections after one of its star crews, meaning these two, was picked for the Paris Games, despite failing to meet the required performance standard, or so RNZ, Radio New Zealand, asserts. Joe Ali and Molly Meach, who paired up in the 49er FX class at the beginning of 2022, headlined the announcement of the New Zealand sailing team for the Games last month when they announced all 9 members. With 5 previous Games appearances and 3 Olympic medals between them, but excuse me, they're not exactly pikers. The pair are the most experienced of the 9-strong team named thus far. But according to Yachting New Zealand's selection documents, asserts Radio New Zealand, and the author who will tell you in a minute, the duo were not eligible to be considered for nomination, having failed to achieve a top 10 placing at one of the designated selection regattas. The selection was signed off by the New Zealand Olympic Committee, NZOC. Both organizations, both the Yachting New Zealand and NZOC, are adamant proper process was followed in the nomination process and selection of the pair. However, Yachting New Zealand's apparent willingness to contort its criteria for Ali and Meach, along with a perceived inconsistent application of the, quote, emerging talent clause, has led to several disputes over its handling of selections and allegations of bias. In the first of 2 selection regattas, Ali and Meach placed 34th at the European Championships in Portugal last year, well outside the top 10 benchmark, before recording a 12th at the World Championships earlier this year, so also outside of the top 10. Mm-hmm. Prior to being named in the Games team last month, the duo had recorded just 1 top 10 result at a major international regatta in 2.5 seasons, a 6th place at the 2023 Worlds. But it is clear on anyone's reading the criteria that Yachting New Zealand, I'm skipping ahead here, I'm excerpting from the much longer article, that they've applied an extraordinary amount of discretion to include Ali and Meach in the team. In a brief statement provided to Radio New Zealand, Yachting New Zealand boss David Abercrombie said the organization does not publicly comment on individual nominations, but all sailors and crews were selected in line with its policies. The nomination of athletes, quote, follows a rigorous process led by an independent panel with a wealth of sailing expertise and experience, unquote. Now get this. Since being named to the Olympic team, Ali and Meach had a breakthrough result last month at the French Olympic Week in Hyères, claiming the bronze medal, We covered that regatta extensively here. A promising sign the pair are beginning to perfect their partnership. So after all of that, even Radio New Zealand has to admit that, you know, maybe they're coming good. These gals are pros. These are, you know, these sailors are highly experienced. They're former medalists. They're on the New Zealand Women's America's Cup team. So, you know, maybe these selectors know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And maybe their emerging talent clause applies perfectly well to them. Anyway, Dana Johansson, who wrote this, who I don't know well, I've known her a long time, the Radio New Zealand's sports correspondent, seemed to think, maybe it's clickbait, but seemed to think there was a controversy, as you Commonwealth folks would say. Emmett is saying, great to see New Zealand are also sending their ILCA 6 representative. Blake Middleton, I met Molly and Joe in Coconut Grove since they attended numerous World Cup and international events on Biscayne Bay. They seem good enough to me, Alistair Murray, the president of Australian Sailing, says. And Clayton Embley, I agree completely with you, Clayton. Maybe they are peaking at the right time.
And because they haven't always sailed together.
Well, that too. But so, you know, it takes time to
does.
get to know each other and get to know the boat and so on and so forth. So I think Radio New Zealand and I think Dana Johansson got a bit over the top with this one. And then they went on and named, there's somebody else they named who apparently didn't completely, perfectly fit into whatever their published criteria is, and having finished enough times in the top 10 of enough regattas. But we're going to get to what John Emmett thinks is the proper selection criteria for Olympic teams in his report coming up right now. John Emmett Sailing, the coaching corner. I'll turn his music up here because we do want to hear, where is that music? There we go. Coaching Corner with John Emmett, our super fozy from Great Britain and super Olympic coach, has this to say about all that.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the fozy. I'm going to put my cards on the table and say I would be quite prepared to write an Olympic selection document for any M&A. I appreciate this is quite a hot topic at the moment, but it's something that I'll be very prepared to do, given I've been involved with a lot of the recent Olympic Games, and I've seen through all the classes who's performed at those Olympic Games and also what they were looking like 18 months before the Games, and that build up where they performed and that consistency and so on and so forth. So I would be prepared to do that. I always put my money where my mouth is. So that brings us on to John Emmett's Coaching Corner. Now, the first thing I have to say is I've always wanted to be a coach rather than a manager. That job description, it's quite simple. You help the individual or individuals you're responsible for to sail as fast as they can. Having said that, selection for a big event, especially the Olympic Games, which is once every 4 years, is a huge task and it's incredibly important. But actually, I would go nearly all the time for qualification process rather than a selection. That is, you have a very clear criteria, what that is, you know, Palmer, EAS, latest World Championships, whatever it is, it's written down on a piece of paper. Everybody knows, everybody buys in, the goalposts can't move. But as I said, I've always preferred to, you know, have that coaching role because that's quite well defined. And I also appreciate it's always easier to make judgment when it's actually not your responsibility. But the thing is, the earlier you make that selection for Olympic Games, and it's only a couple of months to go now, the more time those selected athletes have to prepare, which is very important. And leading up to the Olympic Games, it's actually fairly obvious what's going to happen from the training. So if you see a sailor is OCSing a lot during training, then actually when you get to the Games, it's quite likely they're going to OCS. And most of the time, Olympic Games are not necessarily won, but they're lost where illness, injury or big mistake happens on the race course. So yeah, the selection, it's a really important thing, and my personal opinion is it needs to be rewarding consistent performance at high level international regattas, because that's exactly what the Olympic Games is. Comments, always very welcome, and happy to continue this very important topic.
Yeah, it is an important topic, and I think we should prepare, John should prepare the paper, and let's put it up here and see what you all think, because I probably won't agree with it, because I like the U.S. doing their own trials for reasons geographical, geopolitical, and otherwise here in this country. But I understand what John is saying, and having these international events. But I think the Kiwis, seems to me, I don't know much about the situation. Maybe others of you do down there in New Zealand, but it seems to me the selection committee made the right decision by putting Joe and Molly Meach, isn't it, on the project. I mean, excuse me. And then they finish third. They get the bronze in a year. Okay, well, what saith all of you? Thanks, John, for that. Thank you very much indeed. Fascinating report again. Simple, brief, to the point. And I hope you, sir, will, and he's on here watching and commenting, I hope you will put together such a report. We would all, I'm sure, appreciate it very much. John Emmett Sailing, get to the front of the fleet. Alistair Murray says, thanks, John. Should it contain an element of discretion or based entirely on specified regatta results? Well, I think that's what we're saying is part of the issue here, right, Julia?
Yep.
What do you think?
What
do you think, Julia?
I think that it depends on what time it is in the season.
Well, that's true too. If it's, but part of the problem is these days is that countries, it's not the national federations. It used to be the U.S. sent, and Canada for that matter, sent a team in every class, irrespective of how they were doing. If you won the trials, you sent them. But now there's qualifications because the Olympics have cut down from
Number of people.
the number of people that can go in the entire Olympics. And then the NOCs, the National Olympic Committees, in our case USOPC, U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee, and the National Olympic Committees, the NZOC, I think was their name, will tell the federations, because we only have X many dollars and X many, we can't support everybody. So you have to show, they have to show that they can perform on the international stage, or else we're not going to fund them. We're not going to give them good qualifications,
Right.
credentials, and funding.
And it's expensive.
And it is expensive. So it is an issue, and it was better in the good old, a lot of things were better in the good old days, right? Right?
Right.
But it was better in the good old days when, at least in the U.S. and Canada and most of your countries, you could just send everybody you wanted to, and the National Olympic Committee funded it. If there was an event, you sent them because there was a chance, always a chance, you might win a medal.
Yeah. And
What-
Clayton Emily says, it's easy to judge when you don't have the responsibility.
Indeed. Indeed. But, you got to... Graham Sweeney says he'd like an opinion. You see that? From the non-sailing CEO. He's got to go. I did not put his slide in the show today, but there, I'll say it anyway. The non-sailing CEO has got to go. Not John Emmett, though. That guy is a peach, and we appreciate very much him. Now, let's skip ahead here now, Julia, to this day in history, because this is a precursor to our main feature today, which is the French AC-75. Do you know what happened on this day in history? In 1961. Ding-a-ling, ding, ding, ding. Look, they're all drinking now because I said the non-sailing CEO has got to go.
Again.
Back to this day in history, Julia. What happened on this day in 1961? Here's your first clue.
Oh, the Orient Express
The Orient Express did what?
resumed its
Let's see if any close, sort of.
its
Ding, 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 cheers. Let's see if any of the Fozy get it. Mikkel Thompson's back on the Olympics. While the Fozy are pondering that, Mikkel is saying the first team needs to obtain an Olympic quota place in an international regatta. But they have to win the national spot, best contested international event. Baron Beek started challenging for the America's Cup Fritz Mueller was asking in 61. Well, that may have happened as well. 100 comments already. No, that's not what happened on this day in 1961. What else? Apropos the Orient Express. Okay, was that the non-sailing Orient Express train? Stingray is asking. Good one, Stingray. This is what happened. The Orient Express was a byword for luxurious train travel, as you all probably know, and had its heyday in the
20s and 30s.
20s and 30s. The service was created by a Belgian, Georges Nakelmakers. What a great name. We got to have something named after Georges
That means
Nakelmakers.
he made nails.
Is that what that means?
Yeah.
Auf Deutsch?
Yeah.
Nail maker?
Yeah.
Who set up the international, you want to say that in French or in Flemish? Compagnie Internationale des Wagenlits. There's a big travel agency called Wagenlit still around, a luxury travel service that included trains. Their most famous was the Orient Express. Gordon Smith wants to know if it was in 61 was the first murder on the Orient Express, or was it the movie? Was it the great train robbery? Was there no, it's not. Here's what happened. In 1883, the route began in Paris and ended in Istanbul. Later, well, that's Constantinople, Belgrade and Constantinople, passing through Vienna and München. Over the years, the route changed many times and was famed for the luxury of its sleeping. And did you ever go on that train, Julia?
No, but I really wanted to.
Well, maybe you still could. I think the company that is sponsoring this team has re-upped it.
I think
on
that's
some
true.
smaller.
I think Martha Peterson or somebody did go.
Martha Peterson, our St. Francis Yacht Club colleague, who sends jokes around sometimes. Well, from the 60s, its service was gradually reduced and finished completely in 77. The railway journey features often in literature and film. One of the most famous in the Agatha Christie novel, Murder on the Orient Express, was not actually set on the original Orient Express, but a parallel service called the Simplon Orient Express.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But on this day, in 1961, the last trip of the original, the Orient Express, Paris to Bucharest, after 78 years, that took place, the last trip. It was the last train to, the Monkees sang that song, to Somethingville. What was that song? Why did that pop in? This day in history, 28 of May, 1844? I don't think so. 1961. The graphics department screwed that up, Julian. Bang on that door in the control room.
Yeah, there you go.
Get the graphics department back there in the control room. 1861, not 18. 1961, not 1844.
I happened to be in Europe exact time, and very sad that we couldn't do it. We also couldn't afford to do it, but never mind.
I wonder how much it cost.
Well, I don't remember, but it was a lot.
Well, there's a funny here from Graham Sweeney. The Orient Express once got lost. It was totally disoriented. Andrew Pindar, Super Fozzie. Andrew is saying it's part of the Accor, which is it's a hotel chain, the excellent Mega French Hotel Group. Yeah, there he explains it. Okay, Clarksville, the last train to Clarksville. Clayton Embley gets it. The Monkees. Fog Machine got it, too. You know who Fog Machine is, right?
Yes.
Our fellow St. Francis member.
Yes.
We call him Poodle, or Alfredo calls him Amadeus. Lance Burke. Well done, Julia. The last train to Clarksville. Fritz Mueller. Look at all these people who know that song. That was a Croutonic song, wasn't it? Alan Long. The Fake Group. Modeled after, they were very popular, Julia. They were modeled after the Beatles. It was arguably the first boy band. And they had any number of
The Monkees.
students. Hey, we're the Monkees. Da, 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 da.
It was a TV program.
It was a TV program, but it was a band. It was
It was so good they became a band. Yeah.
It was. Maybe it was Was it a made-for-TV program, made-for-TV band? I think they did.
Yes.
They interviewed guys
Yes.
because they wanted to have a TV show. Hey, we're the Monkees. Man, we are dating ourselves today, Julia. Okay, the America's Cup, the AC-37 Cup date, it's happening in under 90 days. It's only 85 days to the start of that preliminary regatta. And that was a screen grab from 3 hours ago, but it's coming to Barcelona. In fact, now all 6 AC-75s, remember the teams can only build one new AC-75, and the French have revealed over the last few days their Orient Express, their AC-75, which in a headline written by Magnus the Magnificent, Magnus Wheatley, he writes most of their stuff on the website and so on. Orient Express showcase stunning design, Julia, a stunning design.
And livery.
Yeah, well, the livery everybody likes. It's dark blue
Yes.
with a gold stripe. You know, it reminds me a little bit of University of Michigan or Cal Berkeley or tell me who. And Ed Worley is saying, yeah, stunning Kiwi design, because the boat is virtually identical by all accounts. And this isn't just us. We're going to show you some pros here in a minute. Virtually all accounts, and even the French themselves are admitting they got the design from the Kiwis. They modified it a little bit. They modified some of the construction techniques. They built the boat up in France, and then they shipped it down. It's been there since April 6th, I think. It's been down in Barcelona. They actually been there for a month plus, almost 2 months now. And they have been fitting it out, apparently, with gear provided by Team New Zealand. So the design provided by Team New Zealand, the build under the America's Cup, the protocol, and of course the deed to give has to be built in the country of the club it represents. But the design was called by Magnus stunning, even though we've already seen it.
Never mind.
Never mind. Yeah, the stern Steve Gruber may be a little different, but it's a little hard to tell. The bustle is the same. You see it runs all the way to the back of the boat.
It seems sleeker.
It seems sleeker, but maybe it's just because it doesn't have all that graphics, all that branding, all that busy branding. There was alliteration, busy branding. This is from the website. Observing the reveal early this morning was yachting journalist Justin Chisholm from the Recon team, and his observations were on point, Magnus writes. Orient Express Racing Team revealed their new AC-75 race boat for the first time today for a mast stepping day that began with an 0630 rollout. First sight of the hull as it was eased from the shed revealed the French boat to be very much a sister ship to the Kiwis' latest generation AC-75 Taihoro. No surprise, no mystery. What has the America's Cup come to when the Defender supplies a design program, a whole bunch of, essentially all the fittings for the boat, maybe even one of the foils. We'll find out more about that in due course. And now that Challenger is going to race against the other Challengers, allowing the Defender to get a bead on all the other Challengers during the Challenger Selection Series. And then, of course, if and when the French, and I fully suspect because of the lack of experience, Quentin Delapierre and so on, Quentin, I think it's pronounced in French, but good sailor, but the least experienced, I assume they'll be, because they're also a day late and a dollar short, they'll be the first ones out, I assume, but you never know.
You never know.
And when they're out, they'll go race against the Kiwis and be a trial horse, which none of the other teams will have. But I digress, and that's Tom's tangent. Let's carry on here. To bring the Orient Express team together, this is a quote from their team, their technical director, Antoine Carras. To bring the Orient Express racing team together, it was decided to complete the preparation of our AC-75 in Barcelona at the French base. This meant transferring the hull by road, a 5-day convoy, as we told you it was coming, but I didn't realize it was already there, and it's been there for so long. Exceptional convoy. Crisscrossed its way through France and down to Catalonia in Spain. Then, as soon as we arrived on 6 April, I wonder if that's a typo. I wonder if it was 6 May. I guess not. Must have been 6 April.
Yep.
The hydraulics, electricity, and mechatronics departments took over. the boat to install the cables, batteries, rams, and other systems, which were apparently supplied by Team New Zealand. This precision job took almost 7 weeks. Our AC-75 is equipped with over 200 sensors that had to be installed, the sensors that send data back to shore or to the coach boat. These are essential performance tools. I wonder who else is getting that data, by the way. Who knows? And that's a statement, that's a quote from Antoine Carras. Is that how you pronounce it? The French, he's the Orient Express technical director, of course, from France. How well have copies done in the America's Cup? I think breakthrough boats have a better record, Clay Embley is saying. Yeah, normally you would expect. And they probably don't have all of the ETNZ secrets. It's probably the base plan. But apparently the hulls, the canoe bodies, look very, very much alike. So are we saying New Zealand has greased the tracks for the French Orient Express? I'm not sure we're saying that, Graham Sweeney. Carbon fiber ashtrays, Lance Burke is saying, Fog Machine. Dragonfly, yes. Yes, the christening is tomorrow. Stingray says it's tomorrow. It's Wednesday morning, Barcelona time. And the rumor is that she will be named Tay Orient. Tay Orient! Good one, Stingray.
Yep.
Tay Orient Express. I doubt it because their sponsor is of course, Orient Express. This Accor Hotel, as Andrew Pindar pointed out for us. There's more here to tell you. Some other observations. The bow is virtually the same. There is some question whether it has that step in the bow like the Kiwi boat does. Liveried in royal blue and the liveried in royal blue and with a stylish thin gold stripe weaving its way from the bow to the stern. The new French boat sported white logoed foil arms with all black foil stocks and blades. This is what she wore to the ball, it sounds like, Julia.
Yeah,
it's a fashion show.
Yeah, it sounds like our friend.
It is. It's Magnus the Magnificent. Perhaps because of the single color. Notice he misspelled color. The single color finish, it was hard to see if the bow included the slight step near the waterline, which is so noticeable on the Kiwi boat, although comments from the team suggested that it does. Our 90-degree starboard side view did not give much indication of the stern profile, but we have a stern profile for you. There it is. There back behind the foils. And we'll give you a better stern profile in a moment. But you can see the port foil, which is there on the left, and the starboard foil, which is on the right, are quite different, as many of the teams are experimenting with old and newer foils. The port foil stock and wing were confirmed by the team as being legacy components from Emirates Team New Zealand. An elliptical wing with turned up tips was mounted aft of a long, large form factor bulb, as well as a narrower foil stock. An all-new elliptical foil on the starboard side with turned-up tips was mounted aft on a short, small form factor bulb with very little protrusion forward of the foil stock. So, I think this 6th team probably fulfills a point in the contract, Julia.
Mm-hmm.
The point in the contract requiring more or providing more money to the organizing committee, meaning Grant Dalton and AC-37 and ACE and Emirates Team New Zealand ultimately, if there were 6 teams. It was probably worth their while to fund all this.
Yeah.
Because they probably got more money from Barcelona than what the additional cost was.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I do think they wanted the extra. And
Well,
they
and
wouldn't have gotten it otherwise.
more the merrier, I suppose. And I'm sure Louis Vuitton also was motivated. I think we are too kind to the other teams, Dragonfly is saying. Yeah, maybe we are. So when France is eliminated, TNZ can crew the French boat as a trial horse and training partner, Ed Worley is saying. Well, apparently. But you're going to see in a video here in a moment the controversies, the pushback is just starting to happen. Now, there was some speculation because the photographers weren't originally allowed to photograph the deck as to whether or not it was white, and here we can confirm in a fairly recent photo in the last couple of days that it is in fact white. As seen previously on the Kiwi AC-75, the French boat has a pronounced full-length bustle that appeared to match its New Zealand sister ship. Although impossible to observe from the ground, we were told the deck is painted all white. Well, there you can plainly see that it is, for the purpose of heat reflection from the Mediterranean summer sun, which I can attest, having
Yeah, I was
lived
gonna say.
on that coast for better part of 10 years. It is hot in the summer in Barcelona. To say nothing, I've been there for the '92 Olympics, where it was also hot as well. Julia, you were going to say?
No, I wasn't.
Pragmatism is fine in my book, and you have to be in it to win it. ETNZ created their own secondhand marketplace, not dumb. Somers Kempa in Bermuda said, hello, Somers, long time.
Yeah.
Gordon Smith, worth remembering that these teams, apart from the USA, are committed to multi-cycle competition in the AC. FRA, France needed to start somewhere. Okay, Gordon, fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. Now let's look again at the transom. This is that stern profile, which, whether you think that looks flatter than New Zealand, it looks, I should have grabbed a similar shot from New Zealand, but Tom Morse and Aussie Sales, everybody will be doing the comparisons and we'll grab it in subsequent shows. But to my eye, to Justin Chisholm and just about everybody else has cast a critical eye on this, including Stingray up in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically the same yacht. And as Stingray said, the naming ceremony is tomorrow. The christening is tomorrow morning. However, they're not going to sail, apparently, until the 4th of June, or so one hears, I think, reliably. Mm-hmm. And now they produce a nice video of the production of the boat up in France, and I think you'll enjoy this video from the team. And what a treat for different music, Julia, than we're used to hearing.
Yes.
What are you laughing at?
Jody Shields.
I feel like I'm on hold to a call center. Well, what do you think we are? We're just basically a fancy call center here,
Yeah.
Jody, and we read your comments, and you guys make the show. You guys and gals, our Posey, make the show. Alan Long thinks it's pretty. I don't know if he's talking about the music. I think he's talking about the music.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a design build, but Gordon, I mean, come on. The intent of the America's Cup is that it is a design and build competition, and here we have basically, the truth is you've got the Kiwis designing the boat, and other than the canoe body, the shell, and the deck, as Stingray has pointed out in the comments, they're also supplying all the parts, the mechatronics, everything. And that's not what the America's Cup is supposed to be about.
No.
I think to answer Ted Ryman's question, Julia, can they sequester that boat if something happens to their own boat?
Yeah.
And I think the answer is no. The Kiwis cannot sail that boat because it's not built. The canoe body, the hull, was not built in the country of the club it represents. It was built in France,
Yeah.
right?
You're right.
So I doubt it can. I have to go dig into the rules. I'm too lazy. I basically am too lazy to go dig into the rules at this point.
When you don't have to.
When I don't have to. After doing that for 40 years,
Uh,
or the better part of 40 years, being a rules advisor on some level in all those campaigns, whether I was running a cup or helping run a team or whatever, it's
Right.
just going and reading those rules. And they're long and they're laborious. And I don't know who the wordsmiths are now, because in the days that I was the wordsmith, doesn't matter. I was one of,
yeah.
and there were one or two others who were. Hamish Ross was a good wordsmith, and
Right.
was always helping to wordsmith these things because we weren't highly technical. But we could have Ken McAlpine or one of the other designers, the smart guys or gals, say, this is, in fact, Hamish and I would be sitting there listening carefully.
Yes.
And we would say, well, we see this prose here, but tell us in your own words.
What does it mean?
What are you trying to say?
Yeah.
Oh, well, we're trying to say that if this happens, that can happen. And, well, why did you put all these freaking commas in there? Why don't you put a period there and then have a simple declarative second sentence that says that, and then maybe a simple declarative sentence or maybe a new, paragraph.
Yeah.
A new clause, as the Kiwis and the Brits
Right.
and the Aussies like to say. Bloody hell. There are technicians and then there are wordsmiths. And Stingray says, as I said, as soon as OE gets dismissed, then ETNZ has a race partner to two-boat with and a boat full of spare parts. That's a good point, Stingray, is the spare part point. Didn't Oracle help Japan and Bermuda? Julie Ahrens is saying. Well, there have been various rules against training, Julie Ahrens, or not training, helping, over the years. Sometimes it's been allowed, sometimes it's been frowned upon, but ultimately not prohibited. Sometimes it's been outright prohibited. So, and there's always the question, as Ed Worley is pointing out, about participation versus cost versus this or that or the other thing. I don't know. I don't like it. I don't mind teams training against each other. In fact, we're about to show you a video where arguably even there's rules against it. You got two boats. In fact, you can see it in this picture that's over my shoulder right now in the PIP, in the picture-in-picture. This is from a couple days ago of Luna Rosa on the same race course area in the waters with American Magic. Now, are they breaking any rules? They did crisscross tacks up, wind, and down, but should that be permitted, prohibited? Well, this time it's prohibited, at least by law, by the protocol, but very hard to enforce. And what's to stop two teams from sailing around in the same patch of water, right? So that's that. The same writing advice you gave me when reviewing some of the official documents, including U.S. Blake, once the rules advice, that was back in the early 80s. That was a long time ago, Blake. One hears that Long Beach entry will be a carbon copy of Prada, made in China. Yeah, I don't mind boats training, trialing, helping, that sort of thing. But when you design a boat for another team and you're the defender and they're the challenger, it's not correct. Let the challengers and race and train against each other. Well, of course, it's the defender. Now, there's a problem here, Ed, because if you're restricting all the teams to one boat, you got to do something to allow them to do some trialing and training. And the defender doesn't, if they can only build one boat and don't have anybody to train against while the challengers are doing their Louis Vuitton Cup, arguably you got to let the defender do something too. So by sailing in the pre-regatta and the round-robin phase of the Louis Vuitton Cup, okay. Maybe. Some of you won't like that. Some of you will. Andrew Pindar, on a tighter budget than most others, the French philosophy from early has been faithful to liberté, égalité, fraternité. Yeah. Stefan Candler and Bruno Dubois have worked hard to give opportunity to all, and you can see that this is being well received by corporate fronts. Well, again, Andrew, and I'm sure you're helping them as well, but having said that, that doesn't strictly abide by what the America's Cup is and has been about since 1851, in my never so humble opinion. Okay, let's get to this. This is NIAM, as some of you are starting to call them, New York American Magic and LERP. I don't call it New York American Magic and Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli. Race course crisscross. How was that for a bit of a alliteration?
Yes.
I worked really hard, Julia,
I'm proud.
on that lower third, and I changed it 4 or 5 times this morning. Race course crisscross, as they were out training, and here is another photo of a race course crisscross. Magnus the Magnificent called it a tango. That's nice.
Yeah.
It'd be nicer if they were done in Argentina. Want to set the rules, Gordon Smith is saying, win the cup. Simple. No, that's not true, Gordon. You cannot overrule the deed of gift by the protocol. You cannot do that, and they have effectively done that. In any event, we carry on here. This is a tango. Here's a third tango photo. And now here is a longish video, 6-minute and change video, first featuring this training by these two teams, and it's interesting. And then an interview at the end with Jimmy Spithill, who launches, as you may have seen me say in the show notes, what I think is the first PR push toward against versus the Kiwis. Very subtle, but nonetheless, have a look.
We're here with Terry Hutchinson, President of Sailing Operations and Skipper at American Magic. A good 5 hours on the water today, lots of action. Can you break it down for us?
It was a good day. We had, we were really interested in the lighter air side of the forecast for today, and so we got out there at 11 a.m. and as Barcelona's been delivering, we straight off on starboard in J1 and the light air setup and it was only like 6.5, 7 knots, and so really trying to figure out all the settings and how the boat's performing downrange and those things. And so in that regard, it was a really good day. And then we expected a little bit of a build that never really materialized. I think we probably midway through the session we put up the J2 in I don't know, whatever those conditions were at the time, and thinking that it was going to build, and the breeze actually backed off. And so it was good to experience the entire side of that whole day.
And can you just describe what objectives you've set? There's a lot of activity on the race course. What were you planning on the track?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying pretty hard to any of the testing that we do. We're trying to do it all inside the boundaries and inside a race course. There's 100 different ways that you can skin the development cat, and yet you have to be able to do it all on a race course. And so, I'm sure there are times that we could do it differently, but I think we're focused on the starting side. We're focusing on racing to the boundaries and getting the boat into mode as quick as possible off the starting line, and seeing how she performs in that setup and environment.
So we witnessed what was perhaps one of the most exciting recon moments yet. A long upwind, downwind, crisscrossing with the Italians. What are your thoughts on that interaction?
I thought it was Doug DeVos, our new helmsman, steering the boat, that was the most exciting part of the day. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to have the other teams out on the water. Obviously, the Italians are a very well-polished team, and so being in the same general vicinity with them was good. They have a very nice package, and you can see that. They have a great, you can see a lot of positive features inside of their setup, and so working within the boundaries of what we're allowed to do. We had, when the shift was their way, they went quite well, and so, I think it's, I think what's exciting to see, as we saw in AC36, is how all the design teams kind of get to a spot where a very complicated boat becomes very close racing.
So you launched Patriot 18 days ago, and you spent 12 days on the water so far.
Yeah.
So over 20 hours of active sailing. How dialed in is the boat?
That's a good question. I think we're on a scale of 1 to 10. We're about a 65. You know, there's a lot of work to do inside the boat. I mean, the boat gets better every single day, and you know what you don't see are all the systems and all the functions that take place inside the boat, and then, you know, really the operating system of the boat. So there's the human side, and then there's the Megatronic side, and so I truly feel like we're only scratching the surface of it.
Terry, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
We're here with Jimmy Spiffel, helm. Jimmy, second day of sailing in Barcelona. Can you break down the day for us?
Yeah, it was a great day today. We got a solid, probably 4 or 5 hours, I guess, out there. Bottom end of conditions, 9 to 12 knots. A little bit less seaway than yesterday.
Jimmy, you're helming, finally helming on the new wing. What feedback do you have on that?
Yeah, the new wing felt great. I mean, it was great to have them both paired together for manoeuvres and just get some time on it. So, yeah, good result from the guys in the shed just to be able to get out there and put some solid hours on it.
At some point, you had a shorter while matching tacks with the Americans. What's your takeaway of that?
I didn't even see the Americans. Were they out there, were they?
I don't know, you tell me. Does the boat feel much different now with the symmetric configuration?
Yeah, it feels a lot different. I mean, there was a big compromise with the manoeuvres when we had the old wing on. And so, yeah, much better now. Now we can really lock in and really work through our playbook.
Where do you place yourself compared to the other teams right now?
Well, I guess probably besides the French, you know, we've really spent the least amount of time on a 75 here. So, yeah, we're just trying to learn the racetrack. But it's good to be based here and now just putting hours in out there. It's a tough track. I mean, there's a lot of stuff on the water, you know, which we've got to be really careful of. But a few of the teams told us that before we got here, and there's a lot of activity out there, a lot of boats and guys foiling and supping, so it's quite the activity.
Jimmy, on a LQ12, you try different playbooks. Would you say when you're not helming, you will be only trimming the jib, or are you looking also at main controls?
Yeah, pretty much set up the same, I think, as the majority of the other teams. You know, with the two guys driving and doing a bit of jib trimming, and then, you know, clearly the front guys are dedicated foil flight controllers, and then they do a bit of sail controls. So yeah, there's a little bit of everything, except that from the past campaign, Keko and I don't touch the flight control.
And you practice also some starts. How did that go?
It went well. I mean, that's the biggest change for this Cup, is that we have to use the Kiwi race software. So, you know, everyone has to use that One Design software. So it's going to be interesting to see if they modify it as we get closer to the racing.
Thank you, Jimmy, for your time.
Everybody has to use the Kiwi software. It'll be interesting to see if they modify it.
Mm-hmm.
Terry Hutchinson's already made a subtle comment about maybe the Kiwis modifying the software for themselves, but not for everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Because how would you know? I think this is going to be a big issue. I think it may be all smoke before we're done, but there's going to be an issue. Jimmy is so clever, having done a few campaigns with him, but also Jimmy, his other comment, oh, were the Americans out there? I didn't see the Americans out there. Yeah, there is a lot of stuff in the water, Alan, and he also mentioned that and said this before. This is only their second day. That is LRPP's second day. So, yeah, I don't think to the question you were going to say, Julie.
Well, the website and various places have talk about all the stuff in the water.
Yeah, well, we ran it on the show Friday, the stuff they were towing out of the race course, and Apparently there were some collisions, some bang-bangs with UFOs, unidentified floating objects. Yeah, I think the new boats are quite a bit faster, Jonathan Frank, than the old boats. So, and plus the expense of running 2 crews, doing that is a huge additional expense. So, this one boating is certainly less expensive for all concerned. I want to go back to where was the Gordon Smith's about the rules. He's saying only, is it still on the? I think it's gone up above off the main screen there. Only if one doesn't, he said earlier, Gordon Smith, only if one doesn't reach agreement. Failing that, the winner and CR get to choose the rules. That is not true, Gordon Smith. That is a common misconception, so I understand why you don't quite get it either. And Hamish Ross will tell you, as will I, we've long since sorted that out, that if you are operating under the deed of gift, there are certain things you cannot amend in the deed, and the initial part of the deed is part of it, which is running it in boats propelled by sails only. You can't run the America's Cup in power boats. Can't do it. And there are other things. Then you get down there and it says a whole bunch of things: windward leeward course, race 1, race 2, triangle course, 39-mile equilateral triangle. Then it says, however, if you mutually consent, you can change the race conditions. The race conditions. And people have taken liberty with that, including Golden Gate Yacht Club. I argued with Russell about a couple of things we did, which seemed to go back and amend the deed of gift rather than mutual consent to some changes in the race conditions. You can agree to anything you want. First to win 1, first to win 5, first to win whatever, by mutual consent, but you can't change the deed of gift, the essence of the deed of gift, including that you have to challenge this time. You can challenge, if you challenge this time, you have to then do it the same way next time. I'm sorry, they cannot. If someone else wins, they, the current trustee, cannot tie the hands, cannot proscribe the next trustee. Can't do it. And if somebody takes that. Somebody voluntarily agrees to that, fine.
Yeah.
But if somebody takes that to the New York courts, they will undo that immediately. I've been there twice and won twice, so I think I have a bit of authority in this. And Hamish Ross, again, who's a great expert and doctorate and so on, will tell you the same. Did I carry on too long, Julia?
A bit.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so it's heating up. Nice pictures, couple just to finish you off here. That is a fabulous looking boat. Sleek, the livery, as you say, and so on and so forth. It's just fabulous. And they're going to be good. And I promise to give you what my take is, update my list, which I'll do in just a moment. There is American Magic sailing with a bit of windward cant, you think? This is very quick. This is a very fast way to sail. And you see windsurfers doing it, the kiters doing it, the America's Cup class, these boats doing it, AC-75s, and including and especially American Magic. So I think that you're going to see a lot more of that.
Yeah, I was gonna
That's
say,
very impressive, though, to see that so far canted to windward. And there's some other stuff.
And stable.
And apparently stable, Julia. Good point. Good point. Apparently stable. So what is my take on all of this madness? And Moss, thank you, John Emmett, and even all the rest of us that sail normal dinghies. We like to sail the boat as much upright as possible. Okay, in light air, you got to heel it over to reduce the wetted surface, yada yada. But still, that's why you try to sail a boat flat in breeze, and breeze and bump, especially any boat, just about any boat. The only exception being hard chine boats like a Snipe or a Lightning. There maybe is a little bit of where you want to heel it to leeward and not sail it dead flat. My take is that the Challengers are, as we hoped, the Challengers are coming good. I think Luna Rossa Prata Pirelli, and what you saw on that up and down just now, those guys, we didn't even know the other team was out there. Yeah, right. the Luna Rossa Pratarelli, New York's American Magic. The Brits, they're still not sailing. I guess, did they sail yesterday? I didn't see that they did. Are they going to sail tomorrow? Because they had the problem. They ran in and apparently ran into something, and it damaged the rudder. And maybe they're doing mods on the boat, or maybe once you have to, put it back in the shed for a few days, you take advantage of the downtime to make mods on the boat instead of doing them later. So you never know. I'm not so sure about the Brits. I'm hoping they're going to come good. I really am. And if they do, then we got 3 good challengers. And I think Alinghi is very strong indeed. I'm worried about their sailing team. They've got a young, inexperienced sailing team, but they got the most money. They've got the winning. Ernesto Bertarelli has won the cup now.
Yeah.
The guy is. Remember, he's the challenger, the only challenger that won it in a multi-challenger event the first time.
Mm-hmm.
The only one. So they got to win. They know how to win. Alinghi knows how to win, and Ernesto knows how to win, and they got plenty of dough. They got Brad Butterworth, and they got some other old gray hairs there that are really very smart indeed. So I don't count them out at all. I'm a little concerned about the experience of their sailing team, but we shall see. I think the challengers as a group are strong enough to win the cup.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the challengers, Julie Ahrens, I'm sure she's sitting listening very carefully because we discussed this with her by phone. No doubt we'll hear from her right after the show.
Right.
I think the challenge is going to win. I'll go out on the limb now and say, from everything we've seen, I think Alinghi is strong enough to win. Will be. We'll see. I think New York Yacht Club's American Magic, and for sure Prada, Luna Rossa. A lot of people think they're pretty good too. You do too.
I do too.
Why do you think so?
I just like their style.
You like the color of their boat.
I like their style, but it's their sailing style and too. That
I think the challengers as a group are going to make each other better and faster and better and faster and ratchet themselves up.
Mm-hmm.
I think despite this madness with the French that the Kiwis are trying to pull off, I think the French are a day late and a dollar short. And I think the Kiwis are going to find out that operating offshore, operating far from home, they'll have some support in Barcelona, but nothing like they did in the streets of Auckland and around the harbor and the waterfront in Auckland.
No.
I think this shipping the boat across the world and losing all this sailing time, they're not going to be sailing until July by their own reports. I think Kiwis are going to lose. And I also, that's before we go back and harken back to the history, which has been, since San Diego was the last time a club defended twice. And I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
Dennis and Co. won it in 87. I went out to help them. We won in 88. We won in 92. And 88 was an aberration because it was a one-on-one match, deed of gift match. But we did win it. Mm-hmm. And then we won it again in 92, and then we lost it in 95. So if you forget about 88, and it had just been 97, or rather 87, 92, that'd be the same pattern as well.
Yeah.
Win it, defend it once, and then lose it.
Yep.
That's what the Kiwis did after they won in 95, defended it in 2000, lost it in 03. So who won it? Alinghi. They won it in 03, defended in 07, lost it in 2010. Mm-hmm. Golden Gate, by our own stupidity, won it in 2010, defended it in 2013, took it to Bermuda. Had we done it here, I'm convinced we would have won. But we took it to Bermuda, had no local support. The challengers came as a group, higher and higher and better, beat us, beat Golden Gate Yacht Club. And I think the same thing's going to happen here. I think Kiwis, Julie Ahrens, I'm sorry to say, I think your Kiwis are going to lose. And which challenger is the best? It's too early to tell. Let's see their foils. Let's see what's going on.
I think it'd be nice to know more about foils. I'm not so sure how much we know or understand about foils.
We don't. We haven't seen the last set of foils, I don't think, from any team.
Yeah.
Good point, Julio. Tell me if I'm wrong in the comments. You all, let's see what you think. The French boat will have sailed the fewest races. It's really a shame because, Ed Worley, they will have sailed maybe 10 races before getting eliminated. Now, they could surprise us. They could surprise us. And the Kiwis could surprise us. And Fritz Mueller, you are only as good as your competition. A deep field of challengers. The Kiwis will have their hands full. That's Fritz Mueller's, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Ed Worley's saying he hopes I'm right. He doesn't necessarily agree with me. And Jonathan Frank complimenting your point, Julia, outstanding point. I think you're right. We don't know enough about foils, and we've all said that all along. And I'll tell you, if there's anybody who can win it, defend it, and then defend it again offshore, it's the Kiwis, because they're good. Grant Dalton knows how to win, obviously. The Kiwis have a long winning tradition. If Tom Slingsby is not the best sailor in this crowd, then Pete Burling is. And maybe he still is. Pete's really good. And he's got a great team with him.
He does.
So it's I think this could prove to be interesting. This could be an interesting cup.
I fear that one of the yachts will get damaged, either by running into something or running into each other.
The challengers.
Yeah.
They might. That's always a fear. The more technology, plus, as Ed Worley is saying, the more technology you have in a boat, the more that can go wrong. What has been the trend in the LV Challenger finals? Will it suggest how big a problem the Defender ETNZ will face? Yes, normally it does. Normally it does. I mean, again, the Challenger finals, for example, Stingray in '83 was a pretty hotly. That Challenger trials in '83 in Newport helped Australia too a lot. Mm-hmm. They were not that quick in the beginning in the June trials, and they got better in July, better in August, and then so we shall see. Competition helps lift all boats. Now there's a mixed metaphor.
Yeah, there we go.
There was one. Okay, let's check in on the Baltic Spring.
Yes.
Speaking of taking them out of action, and I also hear they're a day late. Not a day late. I hear they're a little short on cash too, and they,
the Baltic Spring.
No. Sorry, that was a non sequitur. The Team New Zealand. Mm-hmm. But whether or not that really matters, or whether it's true, let's not dwell on that for the moment, because they're still doing just fine, despite taking their yacht on the Baltic Spring, as we told you over the last several shows. And Stingray broke the code on this one as usual. This guy Stingray is very clever. And he was the first to point out that they are going on this Baltic Spring, and that he was the first to point out that they are headed for the Panama Canal, which is, Balboa is the southern terminus. Is that the right word? Sure. You can see right there by Panama City where the canal starts. We decided it was north to south the other day, right, Julia? Mm-hmm. Across the the Isthmus of Panama. And you can see the canal going north. And Stingray, thanks for pointing that out. And we hope, I really don't want to see them get screwed up, held up in the canal. I hope there's nothing that happens to that ship. But I'll bet you they are losing sleep over this whole
somebody's got to test him.
Transport of the boat. Ted Ryman says Jimmy looked fired up. Yeah, I think Jimmy looked pretty confident. I agree with you, Ted Ryman, but talk is cheap. We shall see. Now, finally, I just one other thing is that Magnus Wheatley's book is now out. We told you about it a week or two ago. Mm-hmm. His book called There Is No Second. That's the cover and the back, published by Seahorse Publishing with a foreword by Grant Dalton. I hear the book is really good. I haven't laid my eyes on it. I've read a few comments from a few people. I've had a back and forth with Magnus about it, and knowing how well he writes. Anyway, Julia, right?
Oh, yes. I'm a great fan.
You are a great fan. I think you like him better than any of the other Fozy and me. I'm hurt.
Oh, how can you say that?
I'm hurt.
It depends on what day it is.
Ed Worley says he's ordered his copy of the book. And Tom Slingsby is great. Julie Aaron says probably hands down the best single sailor. Okay, but a single sailor is not the team. Agreed. Wholly and fully agree. But he is a leader of men and women too, Julie, as obviously is Pete. As in the NFL, it takes years to build a team. Jimmy always looks confident and trash talks well, or talks trash. Anyway, his book is out now. You can get it apparently on Amazon and wherever books are sold. The definitive account of the first race in 1851 for what would become the America's Cup. There Is No Second by Magnus the Magnificent.
I look forward to reading that.
Agnes Wheatley, as I'm sure do we all. Okay, we are fortunate today. We're treated to have another AAAA, and this by way of a travelogue, less about sailing, but he does talk about his favorite nations. And this is just such a refreshing break from everything else that's going on in the world. And Alistair checks in with the Royal Naval Band and that Waltzing Matilda music. Alistair's awesome Aussie anecdote. And can you guess, Julia, where this comes from? Did I tell you?
No.
I don't think I did. Christopher Gillingham's, while you're guessing, Chris Gillingham saying he and Jane just started chapter 3 of Magnus's book. There is some superb content and details. Bravo Zulu Magnus. Okay. Now, where is the yachties, our hotties, Alistair Murray? Where is he checking in? Gordon Smith remembers. Yes, Japan. Japan. And here are some photos that might help you. That is what?
Fuji.
Mount Fuji. Well done, Julia. Beautiful shot with his wife. And yes, this is a real odyssey. I mean, look at this is a long day, 9 bike ride. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the names of these towns, let alone the beginning and the ending. Fuji-san, thank you. Mount Fuji. And what? Yeah, day 10, 10-day, thank you. Day 10, 10-day trip. They didn't quite get back to Tokyo, I don't think. But look at the photos he sent. We do have a video from him.
Wow.
Fabulous photos. And this guy, you got to admire him. President of the Federation, kind of retired now but still has got his hand, I'm sure, in a Ronstadt, even though they've sold the company. But look at the fun they're having, and here's this video.
G'day, Tom, Julia, and all the Fosey. This is Alistair checking in with AAAA for this week. Eat your heart out, John Hemmett. I don't know if you can beat a backdrop like this. It's pretty special. No secrets as to where I am. I'm about to finish my tour of Japan, where I've had an absolute ball. I've missed Sailing Illustrated the last few weeks. It's been a 5 a.m. start if I wanted to watch it, and I've been riding my bike around Japan, so it wouldn't have been working for me getting up at 5 o'clock. So when I get home, which is tomorrow, I'll be catching up with a few of the shows from the last few weeks. I've been here on a bike tour, which has been fantastic. It's my other passion apart from sailing is bike riding. I've ridden 600 kilometres around the island of Kyushu, and it's been absolutely wonderful. Finishing here with a few days in Fuji, a little bit more on that later. Staggeringly beautiful country, staggeringly beautiful coastline everywhere we've gone, and it actually blows me away that it's probably the best sailing waters I've ever seen, and you just see no sailing. In 600 kilometres of coastline, or it was probably 300 or 400 of that around the coast, I saw a total of 5 sailboats. 4 of them were in shocking states of disrepair, and there was one that I saw actually in use with somebody sailing it. It looked reasonably good. It's just not the market that we have. It's not the same culture. In Australia and America and other countries, we use our beaches and waters for playing, for sport, for surfing, for sailing, for powerboating. In Japan, they're very much used for work, fishing and industry and everything related to the waterfront, but not recreational. So it's really quite, it's difficult for me as a sailor to see the complete lack of interest in what is my, is our great sport. I'm now at Fuji, and an interesting contrast. Absolutely magnificent place, as you can see. I've really enjoyed being a tourist here, but once again, some reflections. There's just when you walk around the tourist village below me, which is at the lake at the foot of Fuji, just incredible evidence of decay, it looks like almost a ghost town that's been in decline for many years. Probably caused by a couple of things, I would think. One would be sort of a long-term decline in the Japanese economy, and the other one is, I think, COVID has absolutely smashed these people. And when you walk around the coastline, this tourist resort, you see huge fleets of abandoned small boats, not sailboats, but little rowing boats and canoes and paddle boats, things that have been here for tourists, just with weeds growing around them. You see businesses shut down. You see houses that have been abandoned and with apartment blocks abandoned, with bushes and trees growing through them all. I mean, you see very unkempt garden areas. I find it quite extraordinary that in such a beautiful place it's been so neglected, and I think it's quite a comment on the economic times that they've been through. Anyway, not much here about sailing for my AAAA. A bit of a check-in from Japan. Just wanted to say good day, and I'll be back at my desk in a couple of days, catching up with some past issues, and maybe recording another AAAA or two. I'll just finish by saying Japan, to me, is actually, if I'm asked to nominate my favourite country in the whole world to travel in, it's for many years been Japan. I'd probably nominate Italy as my second and the USA as my third. There you go. With Australia on top of the pile, actually, as the best country, but that's home. But Japan, nothing on this trip has changed my feelings about this country. It is just the most fantastic place. If you haven't been here, you need to do yourself a favour. And what sets it apart from everywhere else you go, it's the people. People are great all around the world, no doubt about that. But here in Japan, they're just that cut above in terms of civility, politeness, respect, friendliness, helpfulness, just a great spirit. I really, really love them and love this country. But I've got plenty of travels coming up in the next couple of months. I'll keep you posted on those as well. I've got a Europe trip coming up to finish at the Olympics. Been meeting a lot of other great people from around the world, so including some of the FOSI. Anyway, Tom and Julia and all the FOSI, that's me checking out from AAA. Just a friendly check-in. Cheerio. Bye. See ya.
Great.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Great. We are so lucky to have people like Alistair contributing his insight. Okay, he weaves some sailing into it, and it's important.
Yes.
And of course, who was it saying? Rob Fry, I think, of course, who's married to a Japanese lady.
Yes.
And he's the father of Leo Takahashi, about whom we spoke at the top of the show.
Yeah, Rob. Yeah, it's here. Conditions of regular. Remember, it's not in the culture. Japan never ventured overseas.
Exactly. And you think how different Australia, New Zealand, even coastal U.S. or inland lakes U.S., the Brits, Australia, we mentioned, but Spain, Portugal, Italy. Great stuff. Yeah, and they also were being invaded all the time, so they built their cities inland and facing the mountains. Remember, the black ships had to go open the place up. Remember, what was that, Admiral somebody from the U.S. and others? But interesting, fascinating piece. We should move John Emmett there to open up Japan for us. Thank you, Alistair. Thank you very much indeed. And there's some more slides that I thought since he was talking about the people at the end, I thought I'd put these slides at the end. Look at the difference in height.
Is that lovely?
I don't know how Alistair's a tall boy, but he makes him look like a monster in that shot.
Yes.
And he's always surrounded by beauty.
Of course. Yes.
And he's always having fun. I love this shot. I want that guitar. Alistair, I hope you get that guitar and send it to us here at the Beach Street Yacht Club.
Yeah.
Alistair Murray, president of the Australian Sailing, and his latest AAAA. For us, we're lucky.
Yes.
Thank you, Alistair. Fantastic. Jonathan Frank is saying, I lived there for 33 years, Rob Fry is saying. Alan Long, it's great that he's enjoying his retirement. Interesting port, Ed Worley says. Admiral Perry, thank you, Ed Worley. And John Collings saying, I visited twice and had fantastic experience both times. Yeah, I've actually been there, gosh, 6, 7 times. I mean, Formula One.
Have you? Yeah.
And taking sailors there when the America's Cup, when during the San Diego days, and promoting the San Diego America's Cup. Thanks, Alistair. And we all, so many great countries around the world. And of course, for me, unlike Alistair, who goes there and enjoys the place,
Yes.
I'm a crouton who goes there, works,
I know.
and immediately the work is over, get on the plane and fly home, or fly to the next wherever.
Yeah.
Instead of going there, looking around, relaxing. And Gordon Smith worked in Tokyo with IBM and loved it. Okay. And there was a little Japaneser from Alan Long.
Yeah. Boyden had a very successful office.
When you were a headhunter for Boyden, did you ever go for Boyden?
Yes, but I can't say that I saw the country.
You worked, and then flew like I did.
Yeah.
Same old, same old. Okay, gets us to the last. Gosh, how the time flies. We're an hour and 45 minutes into this show. We haven't dropped a single frame. We'll probably get knocked off the air now. I'm jinxing it, Julia. Just a reminder that this weekend we're in Halifax with Sail GP, so we got a little promo on that. I thought we should remind you, the Rockwool Canada Sail GP in Halifax, June 1st and 2nd. See if the Canadian team, if they can come good again. We can see if the Spanish team can win another one. See if Tommy Slingsby. And we heard the French America's Cup team at Stingray will confirm. They said they were leaving to head to Halifax tomorrow after their christening, or at least some of them are. And by the way, just back on that previous report from Alistair, he is already home. That was from several days ago that he filmed that video in Japan. In fact, maybe even last week. And I've just gotten around to using it. We had so much going on Friday's show. But thanks again, Alistair. And as David James says, as nice as Japan is, the South Island of New Zealand is probably heaven. That's true, too. But back on Sail GP in Halifax this weekend, 1st and 2nd of... It's June already, Julia.
I know.
Bloody hell, it is June, and that gets us pretty much through today's show. We get to Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. I have only one. We like to bookend the show. We like to end with how we started. And we are starting with a little funny here from Greg Phillips. Hi, I'd like a red wine, please. Miss, this is McDonald's. Okay, I'd like a McWine with a side of fry. You know, they do serve wine in some places. They do serve wine in some Starbucks now, I've noticed.
Yeah.
That from Greg Phillips in Australia. So that's it. I just have one funny because says supersize it. That guy died this week, Julia.
I know.
But did you see? That was, the guy made a lot of money on that. He for a month he ate nothing but supersized McDonald's,
Right.
and he was supposedly tested. The doctor in that video, that movie, documentary that he did, the doctor looked pretty dodgy, and he tested him and said, "Oh, you look really good." And then he tested him at the end of the documentary. And he said, "Your liver looks like that of an alcoholic after all this McDonald's food." Well, he was an alcoholic, it turns out.
Oh, he was.
And he was drinking a bottle of vodka or more, a handle even,
A day?
of vodka a day through that whole period.
Oh, my goodness.
Apparently knowing that it would make his liver and make his organs and make his internals look bad. Well, he just died of cancer at a relatively early age, crouton. Supersize me. Let's have a Mick wine with us.
A McWine.
A McWine with a side of fries. Julia, we are to the finish line. We can wrap this one. We'll do this again on Friday, of course. But you like to say...
Oh, yes, please. Like, follow, and share your mailing list with the Sailing Illustrated, because people really love
Well,
that.
just share it to your, not your mailing list, to your online list. That's
You're right.
That's what the sharing does, right?
Right.
Morgan Spurlock continued to make interesting documentaries. Lance is saying, Lance Burke, he was 51. Wow, he was young. Morgan Spurlock. Yeah, and in addition to like and follow and share, if you will just want to leave a comment, we love the comments. We've had several hundred again today, as we always do, and we leave comments open and replay. We do go back, right, Julia?
We do.
And we read them to be sure there's no crotonicism, but basically to be informed by the comments of those watching in replay, video on demand, VOD. Because this show we air.
And if you've never done it, be sure to do it, because it's half the fun is reading the comments.
Well, exactly. Well said. Okay, thank you for that, and thank you to all of you who support us via Patreon. Become a patron if you're not already. Patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. Give us a few bucks a month to help keep our studio here, Studio B, intact and thriving, because we're going to make a few more improvements to it as time goes on. And speaking of time going on, these folks gave us audio, video, and images for today's show. We thank them very much as well. And in the meantime, Julia, unless you have a final thought.
I don't.
Okay. We will see you, we hope, on Friday, same time, same channel, 1300 Pacific. And in the meantime, go sailing. And if you can go sailing, sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao for now.